legions of people take the words of Nostradamus seriously, if for no other reason than to hedge their bets, in case his words really do ring true.
Some have revered him, others have ridiculed him. But there is no ignoring the enigma of 16th century French astrologer Nostradamus. Known for his cryptic predictions, Nostradamus continues to intrigue the world with his prophecies. So what has he predicted for 2024?
People are not born equal. Some have extraordinary abilities and talents. That is the story of Michael Nostradamus, the French astrologer who cured diseases during his time and predicted the future for us.
Though he lived 5 centuries ago, Nostradamus claimed he could see well into our future. For all his vague language, those predictions point to the end of the world.
Born 500 years ago, Nostradamus's prophecies shake today's world with stunning precision and accuracy. From the catastrophic death of an influential world leader to the emergence of an Asian superpower, how reliable are his predictions? And what are Nostradamus's top predictions for 2024? Join us as we reveal Nostradamus's predictions for 2024. Nostradamus, the Plague Doctor. In history, certain people have possessed the strange ability to predict the future. One that readily comes to mind is the Frenchman Michel de Nostradamus, an astrologer who lived from 1503 to 1566. Nostradamus is famous for his cryptic prophecies, many of which continue to surprise us today with stunning accuracy. For instance, one of his predictions recently gained worldwide attention. It happened in Ishikawa, a Japanese prefecture. A powerful earthquake of magnitude 7.5 struck, causing widespread devastation and tragically claiming the lives of almost 60 people.
Over in Japan, the death toll is on the rise after a powerful earthquake struck the country's west on New Year's Day.
Here is the surprise. You won't believe that Nostradamus predicted this seismic anomaly 4 centuries ago. Shockingly, this is not the only prediction that has come true. Nostradamus's book, Les Prophéties, published in 1555, contains a chilling prophecy about a massive earthquake and tsunami that would devastate the coast of Japan in the year 2024. That is not all. He also warns of a severe famine triggered by waves, which many have interpreted as a reference to the destructive power of a tsunami on agricultural lands. The accuracy of Nostradamus's predictions is astonishing, leaving many to wonder how he came about his prophecies. To fully understand the life and work of this prophet, we must first explain his insatiable thirst for knowledge. Michel de Nostradamus was born in Saint-Rémy de Provence in southern France about 121 years ago. His father was a successful grain dealer and notary of Jewish heritage who converted to Catholicism to escape persecution during the Inquisition. Something struck everyone when he was young. Nostradamus displayed exceptional intelligence, rapidly progressing through his early education. His maternal grandfather taught him Latin, Greek, Hebrew, and mathematics. His grandfather's training in astrology and Jewish traditions likely played a crucial role in shaping his life as a prophet. At 14, Nostradamus enrolled at the University of Avignon to pursue a medical degree, but an outbreak of the bubonic plague forced him to abandon his studies. After that, he traveled through the countryside, learning herbal remedies and practicing as an apothecary. Living in the 16th century means living through widespread disease and belief in the occult and astrology. Nostradamus became a famous plague doctor. His herbal remedies became the only hope for those afflicted throughout France. In 1522, he enrolled at the University of Montpellier to complete his doctorate in medicine. During this time, he often challenged the teachings of Catholic priests, particularly their dismissal of astrology.
Michel de Nostradamus was the first child in the family to be baptized in the Catholic faith.
Some accounts suggest that university officials used this as a pretext to expel him, but other sources indicate that he completed his studies and received a medical license in 1525. He traveled extensively throughout France and Italy, treating victims of the devastating plague. Nostradamus introduced more progressive approaches to medicine. He prioritized hygiene, advocated for removing infected corpses, and developed a rose pill containing vitamin C to cure mild plague symptoms. His high success rate can be attributed to these innovative methods, combined with a focus on clean living, low-fat diets, and fresh air. In 1531, he was invited to collaborate with the renowned scholar Julius Caesar Scaliger in Aachen. During this period, he married and had 2 children. Tragically, his family perished from the plague while he was away on a medical mission to Italy. This devastating loss cost him his popularity among locals and strained his relationship with Scaliger. But little did Nostradamus know that his experiences were shaping him for his prophetic destiny. But before we reveal the Nostradamus prophecies for this year, both those that have come to pass and some that may happen before the end of the year, it is important to mention how reliable Nostradamus prophecies have been. The stunning details of Nostradamus's prophecies that have come to pass will leave you speechless. How reliable are Nostradamus' predictions? Nostradamus successfully predicted various historical events, including the death of Henry II, the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon and Adolf Hitler, and even the September attacks. But the accuracy of his predictions remains highly debated.
While many have claimed to foresee what horrors lie ahead, no one has seen them more clearly than the world's most famous prophet, Nostradamus.
Skeptics argue that Nostradamus's vague and ambiguous prophecies allow for selective interpretation, where any event can be retroactively matched to a specific prediction. According to these critics, people may find connections due to the general nature of his writings. Despite the controversy, Nostradamus's predictions have a special place in history. Their enduring popularity and intrigue suggest they continue captivating the public imagination. Nostradamus had ambitious plans to write a 10-volume work titled Centuries, containing 100 predictions each, spanning the next 2,000 years, but only the first volume was completed and published during his lifetime. The reasons behind his inability to complete the remaining volumes are still known. Some historians believe that his busy life as a physician and involvement in various social and political causes may have hindered his progress. Some believe that one of Nostradamus's prophecies was the Great Fire of London in 1666. He wrote, "The blood of the just will be demanded of London, burnt by fire in the year 66. The ancient lady will fall from her high place, and many of the same sect will be killed." Interpreters suggest that the blood of the just refers to the fatalities caused by the fire. London burnt by fire in the year 66 inches is a direct reference to the Great Fire of 1666. The ancient lady symbolizes the city of London, and many of the same sects will be killed, alludes to the religious strife that followed the fire. But the many scholars and skeptics argue that Nostradamus's quatrains are often vague and can be applied to various events after they occur rather than predicting them. While the connection between this prophecy and the Great Fire of London is interesting, it needs to be clarified how accurate the predictions were. Nonetheless, the striking similarity between Nostradamus's prediction and the actual historical event cannot be entirely dismissed. That is not all. Do you remember the Fat Man? It was the code name of the atomic bomb dropped over Japan.
In 1945, the United States dropped the second of 2 atomic bombs on Japan in an effort to hasten the end of World War II.
Nostradamus wrote, "There will be scourges the likes of which were never seen within 2 cities." This description certainly matches what happened in the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which were devastated by atomic bombs at the end of World War II. Those who escaped immediate detonation suffered painful radiation poisoning, and many died. A stone in the tree in Nostradamus's quatrain could describe the shape of the mushroom cloud that engulfed the sky above the city. It could also mean a land-bound object like a bomb, paradoxically appearing where it shouldn't, in a tree or the sky. The quatrain paints an increasingly bleak picture, foretelling famine within plague, potentially a reference to radiation sickness and the lasting disruption of war. People put out by steel may point to the planes that dropped the bombs. Of course, this may be Nostradamus talking about a plague affecting any potential cities, given that the man had first-hand experience treating plague patients. But again, it depends on how much you want to believe. So, what are the predictions for this year according to Nostradamus? Buckle up because we're about to reveal some interesting prophecies for this year. Nostradamus 2024 Prophecies. Considering the fragility of peace in Europe, Middle East conflicts, and the growing threats in Africa, 2024 has proven to be unpredictable, and some of Nostradamus's predictions for this year may have influenced some of these events. One such prophecy for this year speaks of a dry earth growing more parched and subsequent great floods. Environmentalists have long warned of impending climatic changes and their devastating consequences. The drying earth could mean increasing aridity in several regions worldwide, directly resulting from rising temperatures and shifting weather patterns.
A sign that climate change may again help push temperatures beyond the record-breaking heat last summer.
Similarly, the prediction of great floods might foreshadow extreme weather events such as hurricanes, typhoons, and torrential rainfall, which have become more frequent and severe due to global warming. Do you remember the recent devastating floods that swept through Europe? The flood cost almost 300 lives in Spain, not to mention the thousands of lives lost in northeast Nigeria floods and the destruction brought by Hurricane Helen to the United States, among others. These events have been catastrophic, displacing communities and bringing widespread destruction. In our current era, where the impacts of climate change are increasingly apparent, this prophecy serves as a stark warning about the urgent need to address environmental issues and curtail greenhouse gas emissions. We can work towards a more sustainable future by mitigating the effects of climate change. Nostradamus's prophecies for this year extend beyond climate change. He also foretells a significant decline in the financial prosperity of wealthy nations, leading to social unrest and potential migration. The rising cost of essential commodities like wheat could worsen these issues, forcing people to turn to farming and seek refuge in regions with more abundant water resources. This could spark conflicts between states as they compete for limited water resources. This is already playing out between Sudan, Egypt, and Ethiopia. The three countries are about to war over the Ethiopian Great Renaissance Dam. The Egyptians feel that the Ethiopian dam will disrupt the flow of the Nile downstream, making life difficult for Egyptian farmers. There is also a notable uptick in illegal migration from Middle Eastern nations to Europe. If you think the United States is safe, just check the situation at the southern borders, and you'll observe an unusual uptick in the number and frequency of illegal migration. Another interesting prophecy concerns Vladimir Putin's health. Nostradamus suggests that Putin will face significant health challenges, potentially leading to a power vacuum. A diabolical successor, a close confidant of Putin, may seize the opportunity to assume power. This change in leadership could have destabilizing consequences both domestically and internationally. Donald Trump is back in power with a promise to end the raging conflict in Europe, and it is not entirely clear what else could go wrong with Putin after the war ends, but let's wait and see what happens. Nostradamus has a prophecy you may not like. It is about the global economy. According to him, a significant shift in wealth and power would lead to uncertainty in leadership and currencies. This shift may prompt searching for new economic models and reorienting global monetary relationships. A particularly shocking aspect of this prophecy is the emergence of India as a key player in reshaping the global geopolitical and financial landscape. India's growing economic influence, coupled with its large population and strategic location, positions it to play a vital role in shaping the future of the global economy. As we count down to the end of this year, it is clear that the world is undergoing rapid and profound changes. While Nostradamus's prophecies may seem mysterious, they serve as a reminder of the potential for unexpected events and shifts in the global order. Lichtman also says that observers should ignore polls, pundits, political analysts, media strategists, and any others whose careers revolve around the campaign and its marketing, referring to such people as hucksters.
Well, I have a system for predicting elections, as you know, the 13 keys to the White House, that has been right since 1984. I've got a 40-year track record.
With these observations from the keys, let's analyze Kamala and Trump's chances in the forthcoming election and predict the emerging winner. Kamala Harris rating according to the 13 keys. Known as the first female vice president of America, Kamala Harris is an American politician and attorney who was sworn in as the 49th vice president on the 20th of January 2021. Kamala Harris was born in Oakland, California. As the daughter of immigrants, she grew up surrounded by a diverse community and a loving extended family. She and her sister Maya were inspired by their mother, Shyamala Gopalan, a breast cancer scientist and pioneer in her own right. As vice president, she has worked to bring people together to advance opportunity, deliver for families, and protect fundamental freedoms across the country. She has led the fight for the freedom of women to make decisions about their own bodies, the freedom to live safe from gun violence, the freedom to vote amongst others. While making history at home, she's also representing the nation abroad, embarking on more than a dozen foreign trips, traveling to more than 19 countries, and meeting with more than 150 global leaders. The vice president has been a trusted partner to President Joe Biden as they work together to deliver monumental achievements that are life-changing for millions of Americans. Together, they have invested in the economy to create a record number of jobs and keep unemployment low. Their work has led to more small business creation in a 2-year period than any previous administration. They capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors, cut prescription prices, and improved maternal health by expanding postpartum care through Medicaid. They also passed the first meaningful fund safety law in 3 decades. Forming a bipartisan coalition, they enacted a $1 trillion investment in the country's infrastructure to remove every lead pipe in America and make the most significant investment in public transit, repairing bridges, and high-speed internet in history. As President of the Senate, Vice President Harris set a new record for the most tie-breaking votes cast by a vice president in history, surpassing a record that had stood for nearly 200 years. And her votes have been consequential. This includes casting the decisive vote to secure passage of the landmark Inflation Reduction Act, the largest investment ever in tackling the climate crisis. She also presided over the unprecedented vote to confirm the first black woman, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, to the Supreme Court while working alongside President Biden to achieve historic representation of women and people of color among nominees at all levels of the federal government. In 2017, she was sworn into the United States Senate.
Kamala Harris is a brand new senator. Her office was in the basement, a far cry from the fancy digs of State Attorney General, but she was extremely happy to be there.
Where she championed legislation to fight hunger, provide rent relief, improve maternal health care, expand access to capital for small businesses, revitalize America's infrastructure, and combat the climate crisis.
I have a great deal of support for the Department of Homeland Security's mission and purpose to protect our homeland. There could be no more important work and responsibility.
She questioned 2 Supreme Court nominees while serving on the Judiciary Committee. She also worked to keep the American people safe from foreign threats and crafted bipartisan legislation to assist in securing American elections while serving on the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. In 2010, Vice President Harris was elected Attorney General of California, where she oversaw the largest state justice department in the country.
She's California's most innovative district attorney. Kamala Harris created a long overdue child assault unit, the first ever environmental justice unit, a national model for early intervention.
She took on those who were preying on the American people, winning a $20 billion settlement for Californians whose homes had been foreclosed on, and a $1.1 billion settlement for students and veterans who were taken advantage of by a for-profit education company. She also defended the Affordable Care Act in court and enforced environmental laws. Even with all these achievements and eagerness to fight for the people, many still suggest that Kamala is unfit for the position of president and Trump should rather be voted in. Well, let's see what the keys have to say to that as we analyze each of their competencies and eventually predict the emerging winner. We hope at the end of this video, you'd be able to form your own opinion as regards this. Keep watching. The Democrats' replacement of Joe Biden with Kamala Harris cost the party 3 keys to victory according to Alan Lichtman, but they have an advantage with 4 more in play. In an interview with New Nations, he says Harris has lost the party mandate key with the major losses in 2022 midterm elections. The Republicans took control of the House of Representatives after they passed the threshold of 218 seats, while Democrats retained control of the Senate by gaining the state of Pennsylvania from the Republicans. This makes Kamala bound to lose the party mandate key as the Democrats occupy less seats in the House. Lichtman also said Harris has also lost the charisma and incumbency keys. This is because in previous appearances on News Nation, Lichtman had recommended that, if President Joe Biden were to withdraw from the campaign, he should also resign the presidency to give Harris the advantage of incumbency.
President Joe Biden has just announced that he is dropping out of the 2024 presidential race. This happening just moments ago.
But his advice was not heeded, so they are down by one more key. Under Lichtman-Key's model, Democrats would have to lose 3 more keys in order for him to predict a Harris loss. But he says that's not likely to happen. On the other hand, he says that 4 of his keys remain in play: the influence of a third-party candidate, the possibility of major social unrest, a big foreign policy or military failure, and a big foreign policy or military success. Lichtman says the most popular third-party candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., would have to attract about 10% of the electorate to be a factor which is most likely not possible. As far as social unrest being a factor, Lichtman says the demonstrations we saw this spring have fizzled. A possible but unlikely event could be violent demonstrations surrounding the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, as happened in 1968.
A new legal move from activist groups planning protests for the Democratic National Convention. The city is blocking their protest plans, but the groups are fighting back.
And as tensions build, some comparisons are already being made to the notoriously chaotic convention of 1968.
According to Lichtman, the shakiest keys are the 2 centered on foreign policy and the military. This is why Kamala Harris is talking about the need for a ceasefire and hostage release in Gaza. If the incumbent administration can pull that off, they may well win the foreign policy or military success key, which they don't have in hand right now. Lichtman discounted Harris's upcoming decision about a running mate and simmering talk of Republican dissatisfaction with Trump running mate J.D. Vance, as there's no key for the vice presidency and no evidence that vice presidential picks influence the outcome of elections. Kamala chances are condition-based and would take a whole lot of effort to push the citizens to make a decision that would favor the incumbent party. But what are the keys saying exactly about Trump, even after Lichtman once predicted that he might not be able to run a second time for the presidency, which he's now doing? Get ready for the most thrilling part of the video. Donald Trump's chances according to the 13 keys to the White House. Former President of the United States and renowned business tycoon, Trump was at the very peak of his career just before he had fatal crashes that formed the basis of Lichtman predictions of not being able to make a successful comeback. Some of his major business failure will be talked about over the next few minutes. In 2006, Trump announced that after years in the real estate business, he would be launching a mortgage company.
Before he was president-elect, Donald Trump was the king of the Big Apple.
My name's Donald Trump, and I'm the largest real estate developer in New York.
His son, Donald Jr., predicted that it would soon be the nation's #1 home loan lender, and Trump himself attested that he knew so well about finances and the business would be a whopping success. Within a year and a half, the mortgage closed down, leaving Trump wrong with his own predictions. In 2007, Donald Trump kicked off his line of premium sticks that he dubbed the world's greatest. The company has since been discontinued, and maybe it had something to do with the Trump Steakhouse in Las Vegas being closed down in 2012 for 51 health code violations, including serving a 5-month-old duck. In 2005, Trump opened the non-accredited Trump University. 8 years later, the New York Attorney General sued Trump and the university for $40 million for allegedly defrauding students. The next business that Trump launched that failed massively was the GoTrump.com. This was launched in 2006 and was meant to be a luxury travel search engine, only to be shut down a year later, despite being powered by booking giant Travelocity. These major business disasters put Trump in a dilemma, and at the time of his tenure as president, his establishments faced several bankruptcy cases. This ultimately led to him making irrational decisions and was impeached on the basis of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. But it seems he turned the tides around, coming back to contest for a second tenure and just might stand a chance at emerging the winner. Let's take a closer look according to his ratings by the 13-key framework. Trump made a successful comeback despite all the major business crisis he faced, and now there seems to be hope for him getting the seat of presidency. Upon careful analysis of his chances with the 13 keys, these are the results they provide. Trump obtained the party mandate key as the Republicans took control of the House of Representatives after they passed the threshold of 218 seats. The next key on board that he checks is the no third party key. As of now, there's no major independent third party that calls for concern to Trump. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would have to attract about 10% of the electorate to be a factor, and it is most likely not possible. He marks true to the major policy change as during his administration, he made major changes both home and abroad, and a track record of long-sought conservative victories domestically from this policy change. He also checks the major foreign or military success as he rebuilt the United States military after 8 years of decline and neglect. He also checks off the no primary contest and incumbency key by default as the incumbent nominee loses this keys. Trump is beyond reasonable doubts predicted to emerge the winner with reference to the 13 keys to the White House. But during a recent rally in Pennsylvania, Trump was attacked in an attempt to assassinate him.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Could this prediction be the reason why a presidential candidate was attacked only 100 days to the election? Sit tight for the thrilling part of the video. At a rally in Pennsylvania, days before Trump was to accept the Republican nomination for a third time, an attempt to assassinate him was carried out. A barrage of gunfire set off panic, and a bloodied Trump, who said he was shot in the ear, was surrounded by Secret Service and hurried to his SUV. The FBI identified the shooter as Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old guy from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. The agency said the investigation remains active and ongoing. Upon conclusion of investigation, Secret Service agent fatally shot Crooks, who attacked from an elevated position outside the rally venue. One attendee was killed and 2 spectators were critically injured. The attack was the most serious attempt to assassinate a president or presidential candidate since Ronald Reagan was shot in 1981. It drew new attention to concerns about political violence in a deeply polarized United States, less than 4 months before the presidential election. Though the shooter did not confess or mention anything about those who sent him, some people hold opinions that the attempted assassination is in one way or the other connected to the forthcoming election because Trump is giving an advantage to the Republicans than the Democrats. If we look closely, Harris has other features she can use to her advantage, aside an attempt of assassination. While the candidates are yet to have an official debate, Lichtman, alongside other professors, have made certain predictions of what the likely outcome of their debate would be. Now, remember that Biden's performance in the June 27th debate was marred by some incoherent statements and a raspy voice, which his team told reporters was due to a cold. So, he stepped aside from the election campaign and made way for Harris. Following the party's switch, Lichtman predicted that former President Donald Trump would likely get slapped down by Vice President Kamala Harris if the two were to go head-to-head in a debate. During a live stream on his YouTube channel, Lichtman tells the viewers that Trump does not want to debate Harris as he is in a tough spot. He goes on to say, Trump might be able to debate Harris, but he'll probably be in a lot of trouble. He brings to mind Trump's debate against Hillary Clinton, who is certainly not as facile as Harris, but who beat him every single time. Lichtman categorically states that Trump can do one of 2 things: debate Harris and likely get slapped down or duck it. And if he ducks it, he says Trump would look like a coward. Lichtman says if he were to advise Harris, she should let the debate rules be a free-for-all and allow Trump to be his typical bombastic, obnoxious self. He added that the contrast would play to her advantage with most voters who value even a modicum of civility. In an interview with Newsweek, an associate professor of political science, Thomas Gift, says Kamala Harris can perform better in a debate than Biden. At the same time, she describes Trump as a sneaky good debater, and it can be hard to fact-check his fire hose of lies on the spot without veering off message. Well, only time will tell what the outcome of the upcoming elections will be, and if Alan Lichtman's predictions will turn out to be true. Do you think Trump's attempted assassination was conspired by some Democrats, as Harris supposedly doesn't stand a chance against him? Or that Harris would really slap Trump down in a debate? Let's know in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.